another class of political science. So well, you all know in the last classes we've already had a look at the meaning of the state and government, because political science is associated with the state and government, isn't it? But since you all are the students of political science, it would be very necessary, or it would be very essential for you all to know what is a state, what is a government, what is a society, what is the other association, okay? So today we are going to deal with a state. So what is a state, okay? So state is a political institution of people who all are organized in the society. So in the beginning also we went on to say that when we are studying political science, it is a social science, or it is a social discipline. So you all are going to lay emphasis on the behavior of the human beings. So in the state also you have the human beings. Now how are the people going to obey the rules and regulations, isn't it? So whether each and every rules and regulations is going to be obeyed by the people or not. So it is a sovereign political institutions, okay? And besides that, in a state people enjoy rights, they enjoy privileges, isn't it? And at the same time there are certain rules and regulations they have to follow of the particular state, so that there is peace and order, so that there is uniformity. So in the beginning, when we were just looking at the meaning of the term political science, isn't it? So in the beginning the term polis was used in place of a state. So at that time it wasn't known as a state, it was known as a polis, okay? So what were these? So these were the small Greek city-states which were functioning at that particular time. So maybe at that time, since there were less number of states also, or maybe the size of the state was also small, isn't it? So maybe the problems which the people were facing at that time were different compared to the state which we are living right now, okay? So now let's move on with the state right away. So what is the state? So state comes from the Latin word status, which means a social order. So at that time there was no difference made between state and society. So state was something which was concerned with the social position of the human beings, okay? So status of the persons as citizens, so it was known as a state. So there are some definitions also given with regard to the state, okay? So the definition given by Garner is the best definition. So what does the definition say is, the state is a community of people, more or less numerous, occupying a definite portion of territory, independent or nearly so of external control, and possessing an organized government to which the great body of inhabitants render habitual obedience, okay? So it is a community of people. So in a state you cannot expect only one individual, or you cannot expect two individuals, okay? So there will be a large amount of individuals living in a state, but the number varies. So some of the states may have less people living there, some of the states may have more people living, but you have to have certain amount of individuals living there, okay? And then these people, they occupy a particular territory. Territory means an area, isn't it? It's not that they will be always on the move, or they will be flying in the air, but they will be occupying a certain portion of a territory, okay? And then they will have a government. So government is there to make the rules and regulations on behalf of the people, and each of the states is independent. It follows its own rules and regulations. So it does not have to come under the control of some other country, okay? So it is independent, it is not dependent on other countries, and besides that it is sovereign. It makes its own rules and regulations, okay? Now moving on with the elements of the state. So there are 4 essential elements that make up a state, okay? So without which there cannot be a state. So all of these are the 4 essential elements, okay? So they are population, territory, government and sovereignty. So what is population? So population means the number of individuals there in a state, okay? So when we were discussing the definition also, we went on to say that state is a community of individuals, more or less numerous. So there is no hard and fast rule that a state has to have this amount of individuals living there. Okay, so there are some states in the world, for example, like Switzerland and Canada, where the number of individuals are very less, isn't it? But it still comes under the category of a state. But there are other states like India and China, where the number of individuals living are very large in number, isn't it? So there are many people living in the state. So in a state, it is not necessary that you have to have a certain amount of individuals living. So a state may have more population, a state may have less population, okay? But the amount of resources available should be just enough for the individuals. Okay, so the individual should not be dependent on some of the states. So the state should just be there to fulfill the needs and aspirations of the people, or maybe the demands of the people. Okay, so more or less there has to be certain amount of individuals living in a territory, okay, in a state. Now next one is territory. So territory means the area. Now in a state we said that there are people living there, but these people have to occupy a certain territory, a demarcated area, isn't it? You cannot live wherever you want, isn't it? You cannot go wherever you want. So a state will have a territory. Territory means a demarcated area, or maybe a boundary, isn't it? Just as each of our houses also, they have a boundary. You cannot encroach in some other else's property, isn't it? You cannot start building a house in someone else's property, isn't it? So in a state also, the people occupy a certain territory. Okay, that means they have a demarcated area, so they will be living in that demarcated area. Okay, so now the state will have control over all the individuals living within its territory. So rules and regulations are made for all the people living inside the territory, living within the territory. Okay, so all persons, organizations, associations, institutions, okay, which are located within the territory of the state come under the control of the state. So the state has control over any number of associations, any number of organizations which are functioning within the territory. Okay, but when you are talking about territory, okay, it does not just include the portion which you are occupying. But in a territory, you may have the mountains, you may have the plateaus, you may have the rivers, your lakes, isn't it? Your hills. Besides that, the water also, maybe the sky above your land also comes under the territory of the state. For example, India. India is also a state. So more or less you have an idea about the shape of India, isn't it? So when you have a look at India, it's not that it consists of only plain regions, but there are hills, there are plains, there are plateaus. So all of these come under the control of the state. Okay, so they are known as the territory. And besides that, some of the states may have island as a territory also. Some of the islands belong to the state. Okay, so they come under the control of the state as well. Now next one is the government. So what is the government? Okay, so the government is the magistracy or agency of the state, which exercises the sovereign power on behalf of the state. Okay, so government consists of only some individuals. So let's just take the example of maybe a state has 100 people living there. Okay, it's not that the 100 will form the government. So out of the 100, maybe 15 of them form the government. Okay, so the government is going to exercise the sovereign power on behalf of the state. So government usually consists of the representatives of the people. So you have the three organs of the government, namely the legislature, the executive, or the judiciary. Okay, so the legislature takes the initiative of making the laws, the executive goes on executing the laws, and then you have the judiciary to find out whether these rules and regulations are properly being implemented or not. So the government is going to work on behalf of the state, and you can actually see the working of the government, isn't it? So during the election time also you see so many individuals, they come to your houses for the votes, isn't it? They come to ask votes from you all, and then during the election time you cast vote in favor of the individuals who you like, isn't it? And if that individual's political party gets the maximum number of votes, then what happens is they will be able to form the government, okay? But in the olden days the government was different, isn't it? So you had the king, so king had to rule over the entire territory or the entire kingdom, and then later on some officials came who started to give advice to the king, isn't it? So this was how later on your three organs of the government came into existence, okay? And besides that you have different forms of government also. Sometimes in a state it can be ruled by a monarch or a king, or it can be a dictator. That means they do not believe in the sharing of power. So all of the powers are exercised by the king only, or maybe by the dictator only. And then you may have other forms of government where it is ruled by a handful of individuals. So it can be your government where it is ruled by the people belonging to the royal family, aristocratic form of government. And then you will have your democratic form of government, which is the most popular form of government nowadays, whereby the people, they themselves are able to form the government with the help of their representatives. So the representatives are supposed to work on behalf of the people. The representatives are supposed to work for the betterment of the people, okay? And besides that you have forms of government where everything is ruled by the central government. For example, in a unitary form of government, where you have only the central government which is going to manage the affairs of the entire country. And then you can have a federal form of government where you have two sets of power, one at the state and one at the center. The government which is there at the center is going to manage the affairs of the entire country. And then you have government at the state which is going to manage the affairs of the states, okay, the smaller provinces, okay, or the parts of the state. And then you can have a parliamentary form of government where there is a very close connection between the executive and the legislature, where you have two executives, isn't it? The real executive and the nominal executive. And then you can also have a presidential form of government where you have the president who is the head of state, who is the head of government, okay? So whatever we've said, isn't it, the parliamentary, presidential, or maybe unitary form, so their main function is to carry out the powers of the state, okay? And you can actually see the functioning of the government, because the state is a concept, it is an idea, so you take it for granted, it is a collection of individuals, is it? A politically organized people occupying a definite territory. But you cannot actually see the state because it is a concept, idea. But what you can actually see is the functioning of the government, okay, the working of the government. And finally you have sovereignty. So what is sovereignty? Sovereignty means supreme power, okay. So the state exercises the sovereign power. It is the state which has control over all the individuals living within its territory. Not only the individuals, but any number of organizations, any number of associations which are functioning within the territory of the state comes under the control of the state. Okay, but how is the state going to exercise this power? With the help of its agent or magistrate, which is known as the government. Okay, now each of the states in the world are sovereign. Sovereign means they can make their own rules and regulations. They can have their own foreign policy. They can carry any amount of trade, or they can carry any amount of relation with other nations of the world. Okay, so there are two dimensions of sovereignty: internal and external. Okay, so internal means now the state will have full control over all the individuals living within its state. So now it is the duty and responsibility of the citizens to obey the rules and regulations of the state. So you cannot deny the rules and regulations, or you cannot avoid, okay, following the rules and regulations. So you have to obey the rules and regulations which is made by the state. And state has the right to punish the lawbreakers. State has the right to find out as to who all are not following the rules and regulations. Okay, so that is the meaning of internal sovereignty. So everything, so all the territory, okay, whatever territory comes under the control of the state will be under the rule of the state. Okay, it will come under the control of the state. So that is the meaning of internal sovereignty. And then you have external sovereignty. So external sovereignty means each and every state is independent of each other. Independent means it can make its own foreign policy. It can make its own rules and regulations. So it does not have to depend on other countries, nor does it have to get permission from other countries, because now most of the countries are all democratic countries. Okay, so external sovereignty means none of the countries now come under the control of any other foreign country. So it can make its own rules and regulations. There is no need for the state to get permission from other nations, or there is no need for the states, okay, to seek permission from other nations, or depend on other countries when decisions are to be taken. Okay, so that is the meaning of the term external sovereignty. Okay, so these are the elements of the state, so without which a state cannot come into existence. So you cannot have a state which has only population. You cannot have state where there is only territory. You cannot have state where there is only government, okay? Or you cannot have state which has only sovereignty. But when you have a look at each of these elements, so it is found out that the most important element out of these four elements is your sovereignty. So without state, you cannot have a without sovereignty, you cannot have a state. So there is no state without sovereignty. So later on, when we are discussing terms such as association, society, so we will have a look at it. So they may have population, territory and government, but they never possess sovereignty. Okay, so sovereignty belongs to the state alone. So it is the hallmark of the state. So the end of sovereignty means end of state. So there might be other associations. So it might be having population, it might be functioning within a territory, it might be making its own rules and regulations, but it never possesses sovereignty. Okay, sovereignty belongs to the state. Okay, so today we just had a look at what is the state, what is the definition of the state, and besides that we'll have a look at the different elements of state. Okay, so what I would like you all to do is you go through your textbook once again, just read it. It's very simple, so you can read it, and in the next class we shall continue with the other features, or let's say other terms which are associated with the state. Okay, so with this we come to the end of the explanation of the topic state and its elements. Okay, so in the meantime I will be sending you your assignment through Teachment. Thank you and have a nice day.